Okay, so we're looking here at the industrial drive project, and what I want to note is a few things that that we want to make adjustments to, you know, as we're going along we want to do a little bit differently. For one, what it looks like here is you've used these circles here. On this plan view, the larger plan view, we're not going to need any of these circles, so you can go ahead and delete those circles. And the same thing with these bend lines, these little marks and nicks for bends. You know what? I take it back. Leave the nicks and marks for bends. Those are fine. The call off for the bends are fine too. Let them tell us otherwise. Okay, so the number 13 here, I think it was drawn up in red. The number 13 we don't need. You can get rid of that. That's just a note to help you to see what number those are. Especially same thing here. Number 2, number 13. These are just notes that were put in so that you'd know where the intersections were. Okay, so otherwise this looks good, that looks good, this intersection looks good. Okay, great. Right in here. See how you've got it labeled 8-inch, 22.5 degree, D equals 5 feet. We don't ever want to put the depths in. We put it as an overall note on the plan, so we don't need the depth, and we don't need the diameter of it either. So this in fact can be 22.5 degree bend. So you can get rid of this whole note and just make it 22.5 degree bend, just like this one over here. And the same thing with this as well. So anytime you see just 22.5 or 11.25 or 45, you could just make it that word and then bend. Okay. So the other thing here is anything that says by others, we're going to want to get rid of it because it's something that we're going to assume that they did. And so we're going to get rid of the word proposed anywhere we see it. So edge of road by others. You can see here on all this, this is proposed. Get rid of the word proposed. And also get rid of connect to existing catch basin. In other words, we just want it to say 12-inch RCP drain. Really, is all we want it to say. And so you can actually delete all of this proposed stuff. You know, you could put in CB number 6, station this, rim this, invert, but get rid of the by others and get rid of the word proposed. Same thing here, proposed and by others, leave it the word 12-inch RCP drain. Do you follow? So we're going to basically get rid of anything that says the word proposed because it's not proposed anymore. It's now currently existing. These bends and dimensions look pretty good. And yeah, as we round the corner, everything looks solid. Again, what you'll notice here is 8-inch ductile iron here. You don't need that, and you don't need this as well. This number 9 down here is the same as the number, it looks like would be the number 3. A lot of these are just notes to, unless that is utility pole 3, and that can stay. But right here, for example, number 8, which is pointed out here, you can get rid of that. You don't need that. Same thing here with 11.25, get rid of that. That becomes 11.25 bend. See how you have this pink line right here? That's the old RWS here. Let's toss it. Let's get rid of it. We don't need that pink line. See the 5/12/12? That's a date. You don't need that either. Get rid of that. And then all this stuff, this is by others. Get rid of that. There's no need to have that. We can get rid of that. And the same thing over here again. You can see the depth. So anywhere you have a depth that says like depth equals 5 feet, you can get rid of that. There's no reason for that to have it. We just need the dimension line. Same thing in here. 8-inch. This symbol, we don't even use it. That circle with a slash through it. These guys in the field, they just draw it that way. So we can get rid of that as well. Depth over here can go. These circles in here can go. There's no need for those. We can get rid of those. Okay, so on the plan, if you want to just go ahead and start by cleaning up that stuff there, that would be a great start, and you can get rid of a lot of the by other stuff, and even this stuff in here where it says full width cold plane. This is in fact the dashed line in here. This is in fact just pointing to the fact that they want to do pavement on the road. That's then no longer. It's already been done, so we can get rid of that. This tie-in here, these notes here can go. Toss it. They don't need to be there. Builder surplus can stay. Okay, so that takes care of the plan. Just go ahead and clean that up just a little bit more, and then I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to start working on the details. What I'm going to send to you is going to be a detail sheet, and it's going to have 14 sheets on it. And the 14 sheets are going to pertain to all of the intersections or details that are occurring. And what we want to do is we want to draw them up one at a time. You'll notice here when we look at these sheets that we've got about 14 of them. Eventually we may have some services, so let me just flip through here. Okay, and then there's some services here. So these services right here need to be put on the plans as well. I'll go through and start with the services first. Putting services on the plan is pretty straightforward if you haven't done it already. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this service card here. We're going to see it 1 Garrett Lane. We're going to find Garrett Lane. Let's see where it is. This is not as easy to find as you think. There it is, 1 Garrett Lane. Perfect. Okay, so we're looking at 1 Garrett Lane here, and we're going to work this service card. Now what we want to do is we want to take these dimensions from this service card and apply them to the plan. Here's how we do it. This means it's 37.5 feet off the building, 8.5 feet inwards towards the building, 32.5 feet down to the water main, and that's on industrial lane. So what we can say here is that the dimensions are going to go, basically, since industrial lane is running this way and it's running this way here, that we can basically go down, over, and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the align dimension command, grabbing an align dimension, and I'm going to draw in a quick dimension line. What I'm going to do is I want to make sure I'm in model space. I'm going to draw that align dimension command, and then I'm going to draw this down. And this is saying it's 37.5 feet. So I'm just going to kind of range along the edge of the building and go down 37.5. I'm just typing the number down at the bottom, 37.5 feet. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is, because this is a little congested over here, okay, I'm going to move this catch basin call out and get it out of the way, because this is where things can kind of get a little crazy. But there's my 37.5 feet, and as you can see here, I kind of have to move this arc to get it out of the way and clean it up. But there's my 37.5 feet, and now I'm going to continue working this plan. So 37.5 feet. Now we want to go over 8.5. Click the align dimension. We're going to go over, and again, I'm just going to range the face of the building. Type in 8.5. Okay, and it goes in. Now we'll want to flip this text over. So one of the things we can do is we can go in and mess around with it, or my favorite, just explode it and rotate it. Okay, so that 8.5 reads perfectly. And it's okay to leave it off to the side here, or you can go ahead and you can move it up over here and clean this up if you want to. Okay, that's going to place our WSO. So as you can see here on the plan, we've got a little detail, a little circle. What we want to do is we want to move this WSO over right to the end of this. Okay? From there, we're going to explode the WSO, and we're going to mark these with the color blue. I'm going to come into the bilayer and turn them blue. Okay? And the next thing it tells me is that down the face, it's 32 feet. So I'm going to use the polyline command, and I'm going to draw down to the main, okay, about 32 feet. Okay. Now as you can see here, it doesn't go right to the edge of the line, okay, but it comes pretty close. So if it comes close, just give it a little extension and extend it so it touches the line, and then use the DT command for dtext and type 32 feet. Okay. So we're going to have, this is the end result of what we're looking for. 37.5 down, as you can see by this plan, 8.5 over, okay, remove the WSO, explode it, turn it blue, give a polyline down to 32, extend it or trim it back to the line where it needs to be, and then dimension it 32 feet right on the dot. That is all you need to do for this service, this one, and these next three as well. Okay? So go around and find those services where they belong. Sometimes that can be a little challenging, but you can find them and then run them and move them around and clean them up, because that's where these services belong. Okay? So that's one part of the details that I'm going to send over to you. The other part of the details are going to be in the front part. So you can skip to the end and do the last two sheets and then go all the way back to the beginning. Okay. We're going to go ahead and draw these details up. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and create a duplicate sheet here. So I'm going to move or copy, create a copy, and move to the end. From there, I'm going to, you can rename these sheets, call it sheet 11A, and in layout 1 we'll just go back and for clarity we'll name it sheet 11. Okay, So 11A, and then what we're going to do is we're going to just, on 11A, we're going to number the sheet 11A, okay? And then we're going to wipe out everything on the sheet because we're going to need a clean sheet to work with. So we delete the sheet, now we're working with a clean sheet, okay? I'm going to send you this drawing here, okay? It's going to be KCWA 2009 1 through 6. Now the great thing about 1 through 6 is you're going to find everything you need on this drawing that you might want to bring over and make your life a lot easier. You're going to find symbols, you're going to find examples of things that we've done, you're going to find example layers, you're going to find examples of how the sheets are supposed to look when they're all done. So spend some time looking at these sheets, because if you spend the time looking at the sheets, you'll understand exactly what it is we're looking for. So for starters, I'm going to go ahead and bring over some things that I know I'm going to need. For one, I know I'm going to need this right here. Okay, so I'm going to bring this with a copy command right over to this sheet. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and look for the other one. Look at the plan. Okay. I'm going to look at this other plan, and I'm going to look at the details, and there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to take with me here. For one, I want to take the title block. I want to take the square. I even want to take some of this. I want to take a valve. I want to take a leader here. Okay? And I want to take a north arrow. Okay? And I want to take a pole. I'll come grab a pole later. So I'll copy those, and then I'm going to bring those over to our sheet as well. Okay? Okay? I'm going to go back over one more time and try to grab a pole, because I don't want to have to redraw it. If it's already been done, I'm going to grab this pole. Okay? And I think I'm going to grab this as well, just in case we need it. And I think that's pretty good. I think we grabbed everything. So let's go back over here to Industrial Drive, and we're going to drop this extra stuff in here. So this gives us some stuff to work with that's going to help us. I'm going to real quickly move this piece here over to sheet 11 and put it off to the side over here, because we're going to need this in a minute. Okay? So now we have a little block of stuff that we can use, and you can keep it off to the side, to the left hand side over here if you want to, and just take it as you need it. So we're going to take a look at this first detail here. I went ahead and took the liberty of saving these off as TIFF files. Sometimes that's the easiest way to get these things to work the right way. You may have to do this in Photoshop. If you want, I can send you the TIFF files. Just let me know. So what I went ahead and did was save this as, and then chose TIFF file. And what it did was it created a TIFF file for each one of these, and I'll show you why that makes a difference. If you look at these TIFF files here, and you'll notice each one of them, because there's 10 of them, I can then import those TIFF files into the drawing using the import command. Okay, and we'll go ahead and find those TIFF files, the projects, KC, and then 2009B, and then that's not what I'm looking for. 2009B, as built, Marcos. First, maybe not. Where did I go with these? Let's go ahead and try that. These are going to be in markups and details. Okay, awesome. So here's our TIFF files, and what's beautiful about these TIFF files is if you open them and you hit OK and you set them on the page about this big, okay, and then you take this detail right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy over this title. What we can do is we can very easily start to trace right over the top of these pages. So I'm just going to shrink this to fit. Okay, and now what we can do is, after we've taken this line, colored it dark, I want this to be something that we can't, it's not perfect to see. Let's go ahead and select color and go dark on it. Okay, now what we can do, because it's dark, and we're going to do one last thing, we're going to just right click and hit draw order and send it back. Okay. Now what the beautiful thing that we can do here is we can actually just draw right on top of what you see here. So we can draw the line straight across here, up, okay, this way, down, okay, and you can actually draw your buildings in. I like to use rectangles here for the buildings, and then I'll get rid of these edges by using the trim command. And you can draw almost literally, use 0.10 for text type, by the way, 0.10 in paper space. So you can hit number 15. You can actually draw over the top of these, okay? And it makes it so much easier to do the work, okay? But here's a few notes that we're looking for, okay? So we're starting to basically, what we're going to do is we're literally going to trace this exact detail right here, okay? But here's what we want to do. We don't want to trace it exactly because they do some things in the field that we don't do, okay? Number one, okay, what you'll see here is a lot of circles and a lot of circles with X's in them. The circles with the X's are gate valves, and they need to be represented by this symbol right here. So take this symbol, okay, and put it in instead of the circle with the gate valve. Okay, the circle with the X. Okay, so anytime you see that, make sure you have yourself a valve, and it goes in just like this, this, and this. Okay, the circles here are actually circles. The BO. Anytime you see a BO, that's a blow off, and those are actually circles. So put them in, copy it, and make circles here. Here, here, okay? The squares are okay as squares, okay? Okay. Now anytime you look at this plan, I'm going to show you this now, and you see a dashed line, and it's very, very hard to see here, but this is a dashed line, and you can see it probably a little bit easier on this plan right here. See it, how it's kind of a dashed, very light line, and down here it's the same thing, it's a dashed line. Anytime you have a dashed line, you want to make that dashed line color 9. Okay, and then the text you put on top of it to label it should be color 9 as well. Okay, now leader off of these, change your dimension style to PS, by the way. Leader off these. Oh, that's a little big. Try this PS. Much better, much better. Okay, so we're going to label this 2-inch perm B.O. Okay, and then we want to just make sure, obviously, that it's aligned correctly. All right, now, so what you're going to do is use these symbols instead. We don't need these letters, C, D, E, B. What they're doing is they're pointing you to these letters here, and we're not going to use them. Okay? So here's something to consider. Okay, so we don't need any of these letters because these letters actually point to these things. So I'm going to go ahead over here and copy this utility pole and bring it in, because that's what this is. This is a UP number 4. Okay, so I'm going to use UP4. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take A here, you're going to use the arc command and connect A to A. You're going to write the number 50 feet, and you're going to go to B. Take the B, which is 44.2, and you're going to come along over to here and draw it as 44.2. You're going to take the letter C and connect it over here and make it 45. You're going to do the letter D over here and do 42.7, and the letter E up and over the top here and make that 40.7. I think that's what that is. I want to look a little closer at it. 40.7. Okay? Now, you're going to do the same thing again here with utility pole number 3. You're going to connect A, which gets, these start to get a little big. But you're going to connect A up and around here for 102 feet. You're going to connect B right in here for 95.3. You're going to connect C basically straight through and move 45 over. Okay. To 97.4, you're going to connect D down here and call that 96.4. Then you're going to connect E, which is right up here over the top, at 90.2. Okay? So that's what we want to do there, okay? Instead of this that you're seeing, which is basically a line, a letter, a number, and then a letter that corresponds to it. We want to actually connect these through. And that way, once you do that, you're not going to need these letters because they're not pointing to anything anymore. Okay? Other than that, basically you want to fill in the names. When you do see the names of the streets, we do like to underline them and bring them up 1.5 times. So I do 1.5 on the scale and throw an underline on them. And then again, just a little note here, we don't use these little circle thingies. Just label this label will just be 8-inch DI. So anytime you see this symbol here, I think it's a this symbol right here. Anytime you see this, we don't use this, so you can leave it out and just leave it as a space. That's supposed to be the symbol for a diameter, and we really don't do that. So we're just going to call this 8-inch DI. And then also what we want to try to do is grab these little extension leaders and place them on the plans as well. Stick them on there and then rotate them so they're pretty. Okay, so this is an example of how to go about doing this type of a detail. You know, and you can carry the same idea around to each one of the details that are in here. They all look very familiar. You can basically carry the same principles over to each one of these details as you're drawing them up. No circles with an X through it. We'll use gate valves instead. No letters. Okay, we're going to draw to them instead and get rid of the letters here as well. Okay, anything that's dashed should be color 9. Streets need to be 1.5 times their size and underlined. These streets in here don't need to be drawn perfectly. Okay? And other than that, it's pretty much the same. Oh, and we're not going to use any of these circles with a slash through it, okay? And you could do that over and over again for these details till they're complete. I don't think there's anything else that's really... Right here is another example. Okay, here's something else to keep in mind. When you get to a bend, just like we saw on the plan, you don't want to see 6-inch diameter, 11.25 depth. We don't need any of that. We just need it to say 11.25 bend. We just need this to say 45-degree bend. We do not need... Okay, that's it right there. And this detail here, same thing. We don't need the depth. We don't need the depth here either. Depth equals... You don't need the depth ever. Okay, we don't use the circle with a slash. Anything that's dashed is color 9. Because you start to see the same thing over and over again. As long as you follow the rules, everything should go together pretty well. There's only one other thing to consider. Okay, there's only one other thing to think about, and that is the orientation of the drawing. Before you start drawing any of these drawings, you will need to check the orientation of the drawing. You need to make sure that the orientation that these details are matches the same orientation as the plan. So the first thing you do before you start drawing anything is to go in and make sure that Industrial Lane goes this way while Clyde Street goes that way. So switch over here, find Clyde Street, find Industrial Lane, and that's referring to this cross section right here, because we know that when we look at Clyde Street, when we look at Industrial Lane, that's what this detail is for right here. So this detail actually needs to be rotated or mirrored, flipped the other way. okay? So do that ahead of time, or else you're going to spend a lot of time flipping text around. So you'll notice that, again, if this were flipped around, builder's surplus has to match where builder's surplus is up here, and the existing house is probably going to be this house number 15. So what you do is you want to flip it and make sure that it's going the correct way. Okay, and then the last thing you'll do here is use these symbols here. Okay, we want to put these symbols in and label them according to what they are. So first things first, we'll create a circle, just a small one, and then leader to it, and then bring this piece over so that it identifies where this is going to go. What you want to do is the bottom number is the sheet number it can be found on, the detail. So you'll see sheet 11A, so this can be 11A. And then the top one is the actual detail that it is on the sheet. And since it's the first detail on the sheet, we're going to label it 1A. I'm sorry, 11A. Okay? So up in here, we're going to come in down and we're going to call this, well, maybe it is 1A. No. Call it 11A. And then change the name of the street to match the intersections that are there. So this is Industrial Lane and Clyde Street. Okay? And this one, if you look at the next detail, the next one will be, let's say, Industrial Lane and Clyde Street, and that's just another one. This one will be Industrial Lane, and leave it that way. This one will be Industrial Lane and Clyde Street again. So just label them and we'll figure out what to do with them, but make sure the orientation is the same way. And then make sure that you put a square and a circle to identify where that is coming from. So try to get your orientation, figure out where you are, put the leader in there, okay? And again, if you have any questions at all you have to do is go back to this sheet right here, which will have great examples for you. It has exactly what we're doing here. These sheets are complete 100%, so you can actually view how we handled the drawing process and how we also handle detailing and labeling everything as well. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know, but I'm sending these over to you now. Oh, except for one more thing. There's also going to be one plan in here called the Clark Brook plan. Okay, you just need to mark up the last sheet in the set. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm not sending you this. Forget it. Forget it. No. Just follow in and do those details and we should be good.